Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all enjoying GBL, and before we get into the video, I want to let you guys know that I genuinely enjoy seeing everyone succeed in GBL, which is why I always share my best teams with you guys, and if there is a team that is going to perform well with me, I'm gonna let you guys know. But in today's video, we got to Expert and we did it pretty early on in the season. I was very surprised that this team that I used, which is going to be Toxapex on the lead with Diggersby on the save swap and Shadow Kanto Marowak in the back, I was really surprised that it did really well because it's actually really unbalanced. It's going to be very weak to Cresselia, especially if Cresselia is running Futurist Sight. It's going to be very weak to Frostlass. And it is especially weak to Drifblim, so when I was seeing those, I was usually getting destroyed, but there were a few matches I was able to flip with this team against those Pokemon. Now you'll see in this video, I start off at around 2.5-2.7 ELO, and it took me about 2 days and 7 to 8 sets, I want to say, to reach Expert, so I ended up with a lot of battles. And I couldn't pick my favorite ones. I had a really hard time picking which ones I wanted to show you guys, which is why you guys will notice that this video is a little bit longer than usual. So what I've decided to do for this video is I'll talk over 3 of my favorite sets, and I've stuck the rest of the battles on to the end of this video. And if you guys are interested in watching those, they are there for you guys. I added some nice relaxing music, and you can grab some tea or some coffee. Watch those at your own time if you want to, but I'm just going to cover 15 games. Most of these are going to be 5-0s, you'll notice. So not a lot of losses at the beginning of this video. If you want to see more losses, they are at the end of the video. It's important to show my losses, but I got super excited that I have 2 5-0s and a 4-1. So of course I'm going to choose those over the more, they're not negative sets, they're still 3 2s. But I chose the 5-0s and the 4-1s over those, so please don't come for me in the comments for not showing a lot of losses in this video. If you want to see more losses, if you want to see me get absolutely destroyed, there is that Roserade and Master League video that I did a few days ago. You can go and check that out, but for today's video, we're just going to be celebrating some wins. This video will also feature my 10,000th win in Great League, so yay for not having a life and playing way too much GBL. Also guys, please, before you go and use this team, if you have this team, I would highly recommend checking out my battles first. I want you guys to see my strategy and how I play things out, because not all of the battles that I played were completely in my favor. There were so many battles that were extremely unfavorable for me, and I was able to flip them and come out with a win. So before you go and use this team, please watch at least a couple of my battles, because I think it will be very beneficial for you guys, first of all, and I really, really hate to see you guys lose. Now, I know a question I'm going to get asked a lot is there a replacement for Shadow Kanto Marowak? Because I know a lot of people probably do not have access to this Pokemon. Most of us didn't see it coming that Kanto Marowak would become meta, and we probably threw away all our Shadow Cubones. In my case, I had one in my inventory and I was able to build it, but I've gone ahead and made a list of potential alternatives that you could use in place of the Marowak, and at the top of my list is Shadow Quagsire. I think Shadow Quagsire could work really well in place of that Marowak. Also, any other Shadow Mudslap user. In a lot of cases, the Shadow Mudslaps were the reason that I was winning. So if you want, you can use a Shadow Golurk. Shadow Rhydon could be a very spicy one if you want to try that out. There's also Shadow Donphin with Mudslap. And if you're feeling really spicy, you could run Excadrill, although it's a little bit too squishy, I would say, and it has too many weaknesses. But some more budget-friendly options could be Gastrodon, a non-Shadow Kanto Marowak, so you can try the non-Shadow out as well, and Dunsparce. So those are the alternatives I would recommend, but I like the Shadow Quagsire the most because it is very spammy with the Aqua Tail, and it also has coverage for the flyers, kind of like how Marowak has coverage for the flyers with Brock Slide. The Quagsire has access to Stone Edge, and it can hit for super effective against those flying types. So that being said, let's get into these battles. I have been rambling for way too long. I am so sorry. I like to talk and explain myself. Hopefully I haven't bored you guys too much. In In this battle, we are going to be up against a Guzzlord on the lead. That's actually where we want to see it because Toxapex is going to do really well against Guzzlord. Something else I didn't know, later on I'm going to discover that Kanto Marowak, Shadow Kanto Marowak, can also do really well against the Guzzlord. But Guzzlord is usually going to be paired with poison types because it is extremely weak to fairy types. So my opponent, they farm up on Guzzlord and then they swap into a Toxapex. I bring in my Diggersby, I'm able to take it out with a Diggersby, and then my opponent is forced to throw a Brutal Swing before I can reach another move on my Diggersby. We're going to bring in that Toxapex up against this Guzzlord now, and I'm just going to watch out for a catch. I let whatever this is go. They're going to be going for Brutal Swing. Going to go for a Sludge Wave here. Hopefully they let it land. We take their final shield. Okay. Now, with shields out of the way, I think my Marowak is going to do very well. I'm going to come in with Marowak and go for a full farm down. I end up shielding one of their Brutal Swings and saving one of my shields for whatever they have in the back. They have a Shadow Feraligatr, and because I have a shield left and they have no shields left, I'm going to be able to land 2 Bone Clubs, take the Shadow Feraligatr out, and take that win. Here's one of the things I love about Shadow Kanto Marowak is up against a Feraligatr, the Mud Slap damage can sometimes be enough if you have shields up to take that Pokemon out. Now remember when I told you guys a lot of these battles were not in my favor? Well, this is one of the absolutely hard counter teams I ran into. We get a Malamar on the lead, which is going to be terrible for our Toxapex. So I immediately swap into my Diggersby, which is not great. I have to take a superpower on Diggersby. I want to save my shields for my Kanto Marowak, and my opponent brings in a Serperior. Now they mess up here and they go for an Aerial Ace. Instead of going for a second Frenzy Plant and taking our Diggersby out, we survive the Aerial Ace. I'm able to reach another Fire Punch, and my opponent is forced to shield. If I can get shields out of the way, that is going to be amazing for my Marowak, even if my opponent has a Water type in the back. With shields gone, Shadow Marowak should be able to destroy unless they have something that absolutely walls me, like a Chestnut. But in this case, it looks like they are going to have an Azu, which is going to be very tough for my Marowak, but I have 2 shields left. I'm going to go ahead and shield the first Ice Beam. I CMP tie on the next move, really hoping this Bone Club will take them out, but they live with a sliver of health. I have to shield their next Ice Beam, but at least I have some energy for their Malamar. Going to be able to reach 2 Bone Clubs up against that Malamar. They were probably trying to farm us down because they need energy for Toxapex if they want to take us out. Otherwise, I am going to be able to Poison Jab them down, but we're able to take that win. GG's to our opponents. Moving on to the next battle, again, we are going to see a terrible lead of Malamar, but this time I switch up my strategy a bit. I go for the Fire Punch immediately on my Diggersby as soon as I get it because, first of all, I want to get some damage off on the Malamar that might be useful for me in the end game, and also I can stall the switch timer by throwing a move. So we end up doing that. My opponent brings in a Drapion. We take a shield from the Drapion with a Scorching Sands. I probably should have baited, that way I would have been able to reach a Fire Punch and a Scorching Sands, but I'm gonna bring in the Toxapex now for the Drapion, and my opponent doesn't stay in. They bring in Malamar, they take a Brine. I'm gonna let them throw their energy on my Toxapex before swapping out into my Marowak. That way I'm able to farm their Malamar down without taking a move. I know that Drapion is still alive and it has energy, so I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever this is, expecting the Aqua Tail, which is going to hurt. And my opponent's final Pokemon is a Shadow Galarian Weezing. This is amazing. I'm going to be able to reach 2 Bone Clubs up against the Shadow Galarian Weezing. The second one is going to land, and it's going to be enough to take them out, and we're going to take another win there. Okay, now in this next battle, my opponent has a Core Breaker for the team in the back, which is going to be that Dugong. But on the lead, we are going to see a Shadow Feraligatr, which is really good for Toxapex because Toxapex is going to be resisting everything as long as the Feraligatr is not running Crunch. They swap into Drapion, and I decide to bring in Marowak instead of Diggersby because Diggersby can actually lose to Drapion because you need to land a Scorching Sands, and they are going to outpace to the Aqua Tails. I'm able to take 1 Aqua Tail on Marowak, but then I have to throw a move to take the Drapion out. We are both one shield down. So let's see how this is going to work out, because they bring in that dugong, they farm our Marowak down, and that's not really good for us. I end up taking a drill run on my Toxapex. Thankfully, the Sludge Wave lands, and then I tried to catch a drill run on Diggersby, but we're not successful. I'm going to be able to reach a Scorching Sands before my opponent can reach another Icy Wind. We take their final shield, and here I decide, okay, I'm going to save my last shield for the Feraligatr. I'm able to reach a Scorching Sands up against Feraligatr, and my opponent's Dugong is energy dry, so I bring in my Toxapex, go for a Brine. They live with very little HP, but I am going to be able to take them out with Toxapex, and I should be able to farm their Dugong down with the Poison Jabs and take that win. GG's to my opponent, and that is going to be a 5-0 in that set, getting us to our season high, which is that 2-6-2-0. However, little did I know we are going to keep climbing with this team, because my goodness, that Shadow Kanto Marowak is just too good. Now, this is a couple of sets later. Some of the battles that I played in between I have at the end of this video, but we are going to skip to this set where we are going to be up against a Galarian Moltres. I decided to shield the Brave Bird. Usually I like to save shields for my Kanto Marowak, but I got destroyed by Galarian Moltres in a previous battle, and I ended up learning that I absolutely have to save Toxapex for that Pokemon, otherwise it's just going to wreck my entire backline. Anyways, they Brave Bird and dipped into a Clodsire. I'm able to take the Clodsire out with my Kanto Marowak, and my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Ferrothorn. I'm able to get the Ferrothorn into the yellow with the Marowak, but unfortunately, they're able to farm us down, and I'm not going to be able to take a second Power Whip on my Diggersby, so they take our final shield. They still have a shield left. They bring in that Galarian Moltres, and surprisingly, they let the Sludge Wave go. I'm able to take them out. Thank goodness they're not able to reach another Brave Bird, and now we have to take care of this Ferrothorn with the Toxapex and the Diggersby. They're not going to be able to take Toxapex out. We go for a Sludge Wave. They let it go because they know I can go for a Fire Punch on Diggersby, but it looks like Toxapex is going to be able to take that Ferrothorn out for us. GG's to our opponent. This next battle is another really good one because my opponent has a double water backline. They have Azu and Feraligatr in the back, and I have two ground types, but wait till you see this win. I am going to let my Toxapex go here up against the Dragonite, and I come in with Diggersby. Unfortunately, I have to use a shield in case this is superpower. They go for a Dragon Claw, and then they bring in Azu. Okay, I'm going to start going for these Scorching Sands up against this Azu, and I absolutely have to save my last shield for the Marowak for whatever they have in the back. I still don't know, but I was really hoping it would be a poison type because it made sense if they lead a dragon type to have a poison type in the back. So we let Diggersby go. I'm going to come in with Marowak, and I'm going to farm up until CMP tie and go for a Bone Club because I don't want to use my final shield. But unfortunately for us, my opponent's final Pokemon is a Feraligatr, and they have a shield left, so we're able to take the final shield out of the way, shield a Hydro Cannon, reach another Bone Club, and I'm really hoping this is going to be enough to take them out. It is, and somehow we're able to take that win. I have no idea how, but my goodness, when I saw those two water types, I almost had a heart attack. But do you guys want to see another hard counter team in this next battle? We are going to be up against a Dunsparce on the lead, which is not great for my Toxapex. The way I like to play this out is I will farm up and then try to catch a move on Diggersby. We don't really catch a move on Diggersby, but they still end up throwing a Drill Run, and then they swap into Chestnut, which is actually amazing because now I can get the hardest counter for Marowak out of the way. We're able to come in with our Toxapex, take one Frenzy Plant, and then farm them down, have a ton of energy for this Dunsparce, and take a shield with Sludge Wave, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Talonflame. I'm able to reach back-to-back Rock Slides. My opponent lets the first one go, probably expecting a bait. We're able to one-shot them, get the Talonflame out of the way, and now it is going to be their Dunsparce versus our two-shielded Marowak. I should be able to reach two more Bone Clubs after this, so my opponent is just going to let the next one go. They know it's over. GG's to our opponent. That could have been absolutely terrible for us if my opponent had brought Talonflame into Diggersby. Talonflame will actually wall Diggersby, and then their Chestnut would have been up against our Marowak, which also walls Marowak, and that could have been absolute destruction for me. But thank goodness they brought out the Chestnut. Actually, I think my opponent did this because they were calling that I had Talonflame in the back. There is a player named Zwilus who reached Legend. I think he was first to reach Legend this season with Toxapex, Talonflame, and Diggersby, and so many people ended up running that line, so everyone is really familiar with it. So in a lot of cases, I was winning because a lot of my opponents were not able to call my backline correctly. They all thought I had Talonflame, so I was able to catch them by surprise, and that was working in my favor. But anyways, moving on to this next battle, my opponent leads Dunsparce, and as I did in my previous battle, I farm up on Toxapex and then I swap into Diggersby. We're able to draw the Jumpluff out. Thank goodness I get that out of the way. And guys, this is probably one of my favorite battles of all time because this is going to get very, very, very close. You'll see they have their own Shadow Marowak in the back. We both have 2 shields left, so this is going to get very, very close. I'm going to be able to get both of their shields out of the way with 2 Bone Clubs, and we get them into the red, but they're not in a range where I can come in with my Toxapex and farm them down, so I have to shield my Marowak. I swap into Toxapex. Unfortunately, we have to take a drill run, but we build up to 2 Bone Clubs, take Dunsparce out, go immediately for that other Bone Club, take their final Pokemon out, and our 1 HP Marowak was able to take the win for us there. GG's to our opponent. Now guys, are you ready to see Marowak destroy an entire team by itself? Well, with a little bit of help from Toxapex. But we are going to be up against the Feraligatr on the lead. Does it have Crunch? It does not have Crunch. Thank goodness. That means we can stay in this with our Toxapex. And my opponent catches the Brine. I was going to bait with Brine on Clodsire. Now, I was feeling a little adventurous here, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to farm this down completely with Marowak, and let's just see what happens. My opponent is most likely going to bring that Feraligatr back in. They have 2 shields left, but I have so much energy, I should be able to reach 3 Bone Clubs up against their Feraligatr. Gonna go for a second one here, take my opponent's final shield, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Shadow Machamp. I'm even able to land a Bone Club on the Machamp, and then I swap into my Toxapex. I should be able to Poison Jab them down, have a move ready for their Feraligatr, go for that Brine, and it is going to be enough to take them out, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent, but that is how strong Marowak, Shadow Marowak is with those Shadow Mudslaps. My goodness. If you have a Shadow Mudslap user, definitely build it and try it out because it is very strong in the current meta. And that's going to be another 5-0 taking us into the 2700s. We just need a couple of good sets to reach that expert. Now we are going to skip ahead a few sets, and this is going to be my 10,000th win in Great League. We are up against an Azu on the lead. My opponent swaps into a Shadow Sableye. Shadow Sableye doesn't have access to return, so I can bring Diggersby into it, and my opponent just goes ahead and top left, and that was probably the most underwhelming battle you guys will ever see. But hooray for 10k wins, and I really need to get a better hobby. My goodness, I spend way too much time on this game. Now my elo isn't showing at the beginning of these battles, but I am at 2,740, and I just need 3 wins in the set to reach that expert. We got that first win with that really RPS match that my opponent just top left it in, so we need 2 more wins. And my elo isn't showing because I kept restarting my game like crazy at this point because I really did not want to crash in the middle of a battle. But anyways, in this next battle, we are going to be up against a Feraligatr on the lead. Unfortunately for us, they're running Crunch. They're able to take our Toxapex out, and they're even able to reach 2 Hydro Cannons on Diggersby. They're going to bring in a Mandibuzz, which is not great for us. I'm going to start going for these Fire Punches, which are just tickling the Mandibuzz, and they are going to be able to take us out now with a Dark Pulse. Well, they don't take us out. We live with 1 HP, but then I swap into Marowak. But what's Marowak gonna do against a Mandibuzz that still has a shield? I'm just gonna go immediately for the Rock Slide. They even let it go, but it's not enough to take them out. I'm gonna have to take a Dark Pulse here. Now let's see what my opponent's final Pokemon is. Oh look, it's a Shadow Machamp. This is not great for me. They go for a Cross Chop, take us out. And I'm just gonna go ahead and top left there. Okay, we got 1 win and 1 loss. We just need 2 more wins. 2 more wins, that's it. But the game is going to start doing that thing where it hard counters you at the most important moments, and we get the biggest core breaker for the team, which is going to be that Cresselia, and they are, of course, running that future sight for our Toxapex. So I go for a Sledge Wave, and then I swap out into my Diggersby, and we manage to draw out a Low Kicks. This game, by the way, another really close, really good game. I am able to land a Fire Punch on the Low Kicks, and I was really hoping I would survive the Trailblaze. We do. We're able to go for another Fire Punch. My opponent lets Low Kicks go. That's really good. But now I have to deal with this Cresselia, which is still pretty healthy. I'm going to bring in my Toxapex. I let it go, and I'm just hoping that 2-shielded Marowak can take this win for me. But it's not looking great for us because their final Pokemon is a Guzzlord. Okay, we both have 2 shields left. I'm going to start shielding these Brutal Swings. I go for a second Bone Club, take their final shield, and now I have a win condition here. I need to farm up a little extra energy and leave this with enough energy to reach a Bone Club on the Cresselia. We're able to take the Guzzlord out with the Marowak and then go for a Bone Club on Cresselia, take Cresselia out, and somehow we manage to win that game. Okay, one more win, but then we get the most hard counter team ever. We are going to get a Clodsire on the lead. I swap into Diggersby, and oh no, a Shadow Machamp. What am I going to do here? Okay, we get an attack drop from the Scorching Sands. I'm going to be able to survive a Cross Chop, and big brain moment here. I'm going to shield the Cross Chop because I think I can take their final shield here. Okay, we got the final shield out of the way. That's all I needed, and we even get a second attack drop. My opponent is forced to throw another Cross Chop on our Diggersby because we were going to be able to reach a Fire Punch, and then I can come in with my Toxapex, farm their Machamp down, and because we got 2 attack drops, that Stone Edge barely did any damage, and my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Feraligatr. Because we got both of their shields out of the way, I'm able to land a Bone Club on the Feraligatr, farm them down, and this Clodsire isn't even going to be able to take us out with 1 Earthquake, so my opponent is going to go ahead and top left. GG's to our opponent. That was a hard counter team that we were able to win because we saved shields for our Marowak. Let me tell you guys, in those last few games, I was shaking so much. But now that we got the 3 wins that we need to get Expert, I can relax a little bit. And in this match, we are going to be up against a Toxapex on the lead. I swap into my Diggersby, and my opponent brings out a Goodra. Okay, we go for a Scorching Sands, and we manage to take a shield from them. We even get an attack drop, which means their Aqua Tails are going to be doing less damage to our Diggersby. My opponent is forced to throw an Aqua Tail onto my Diggersby to take it out. Otherwise, I am going to be able to reach another move. And then I bring Toxapex back in, and I don't farm them down because I don't want to take a Thunder Punch. So I throw the Brine, take them out, and my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Guzzlord. And I have 2 shields left. They have 1. You guys already saw how this matchup went when we had even shields, but in this case, I have the advantage. Marowak is absolutely going to destroy Guzzlord and come out with 2 Bone Clubs ready to go for that Toxapex. We take their final shield. The second one is going to land, and then I can swap into my own Toxapex because we have a lot more health and a lot more energy on our Toxapex. So my opponent is going to go ahead and top left, and that is going to be a 4-1 in that final set, getting us to Expert, 2,782 ELO. We are also on leaderboards, and we managed to do it pretty early in the season. There might have been just one other season where I reached Expert a little bit earlier, but this is definitely one of my earliest. So guys, that's going to be it from me. Like I said, I am going to leave you guys here with a few more battles that I didn't use. Feel free to check them out. A lot of these are really good. But if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye!